Our next speaker, getting very emotional, is a survivor. Please give your utmost respect for our speaker, Vita. Please come to the stage.
Dear ladies, gentlemen, and the wonderful C.A.R.E community, my name is Vita, and I'm a familial trafficking survivor. I actually prefer to call myself a thriver. This is my first time sharing my story publicly, so I have a few butterflies kind of rolling around in my belly. I'm offering each of you my gratitude for coming together to make history with the C.A.R.E Galas organization's first of many events that will most assuredly shine a powerful light on the trafficking crimes happening in our own city, our country, and around the world. I also gratefully acknowledge George and his entire team for caring deeply about our beloved children and our beautiful community. The C.A.R.E organization serves the voiceless children and women who have experienced trauma and abuse, many of whom are immersed in a world of hopelessness. There was a time when I, too, felt voiceless and hopeless. Yet, through the incredible kindness of others, a lot of hard work, and by the grace of God, I've reclaimed my voice and feel privileged to serve as a beacon of hope. For many of us, thank you. For many of us, using our voice is a given. You use your voice every day to complain when it's too hot or too cold, or to praise something you love, like a stunning sunset. But imagine for just a moment what life might be like if you couldn't share the most simplest joys, complaints, or sorrows. I believe anytime we go beyond our world, our own inner bubble, so to speak, and acknowledge another reality, we are truly connecting with life. I was asked to share my personal story of what I call my journey from trauma to triumph, and honored to use my voice to generate awareness that trafficking crimes are happening right under our noses. I'm also using my voice to raise money for those who are without resources, to extricate themselves from abusive situations and to set them on a road to reclaim beauty in their own lives. And I also have a confession. This December, I'll be turning 50. Yes, 50 years old. I know women typically prefer not to share their age, but I am shouting it from the rooftops because I am standing here speaking to you after nearly 4 decades of hurting in silence. It took many years and a dedicated heart to heal my deeply held wounds. Yet, I feel like a phoenix who has risen from the ashes. I want others to know that it is possible and that it no longer takes decades for healing to happen. My life began in Peru as the love child of a romance gone wrong. My parents met in the spring of 1972 when my American father, Wes, traveled to a tiny town called Tarapoto, which borders the Amazon jungle. He was there for a college credit opportunity focused on Latin American studies. It wasn't long before he met and married my Peruvian mother. I guess this is what they call jungle love. My mom, Gladys, was 24 years old and longed to meet an American man who could whisk her away from the labor of washing clothes on the rapid river rocks and from sweeping the dirt floors of her tin roof hovel of a home. She thought marrying Wes was her turning point. However, when my father returned to the U.S., his devout Catholic family made it clear that this new marriage must come to an end. As an obedient 22-year-old son, my father abruptly ended his marriage to my mom by sending her divorce papers in the good old-fashioned snail mail. Understandably, my mom was devastated, especially when she learned she was pregnant with me. Oops, that was not in the plan. Upon hearing the news of my mom's pregnancy, my father insisted upon abortion. My mom eventually acquiesced and planned to undergo the procedure with the only back alley option available to her. Although the details are hazy to me, I recall her later in life speaking about something she called Catholic guilt, which apparently fueled her to change her mind and spare my life. Yet, as a child, my mom often reminded me that I was nothing but a burden and a true mistake. 5 years after my birth, my trafficking journey began. My mom somehow obtained a U.S. green card and married an American man named John, whom she had 2 more children. John became my stepfather, and it was by his hands that physical abuse began to dominate my world. Neglect was also a constant. What I'm about to share with you is a reality many do not want to acknowledge. My experience of sexual abuse began at about age 5 with what's called sexual grooming. My mom and John would sneak me into adult X-rated drive-in movies by hiding me in the trunk of their car, which was incredibly confusing to my young and impressionable mind. On other occasions, they rented X-rated VHS tapes, and my mom would leave me alone with my stepfather to watch them. I suspected these bizarre and surreal experiences were not happening in the homes of my friends. They felt wrong and dirty, despite my parents' attempts to normalize it all. I clearly recall the searing ache in my heart as I watched my mom one night, ignoring the large man lying in my bed, a man who not only crushed my small body with his weight, but also crushed my spirit. This was a scene on repeat, yet my mom turned a deaf ear to her daughter's cries. There was no one to run to and no one to tell. Throughout the years of my abuse, my anger began to grow hot. And one night, it spilled out of me like a bubbling cauldron. I fought my abuser, and I fought hard. I kicked, and I screamed, and I cried for my life. And for that, I paid the price. What happened next changed me in ways that I've only recently been able to come to terms with. My stepfather gripped me tightly by the neck and pinned me up against the wall until I could barely breathe. I fixed my eyes upon my mom, clinging to hope as I felt my tiny body grow limp. Perhaps it was the desperation in my pale eyes or the blue color of my skin that finally had her plea for him to stop. And that's the moment I lost my voice. I was paralyzed by fear and retreated deep into the core of that helpless little girl. Something inside of me died. In podcast interviews, I've been asked how this kind of thing could possibly happen. A mother allowing her daughter to be pinned to the wall or pimped out to her husband as a means of putting food on the table. The only answer I could give them was the one my mom gave me. She said, "Alita, you need to be a good daughter and obey your father. He worked so hard to put a roof over our heads. Stop being a spoiled brat." At age 14, I was removed from my home and moved into the home of my aunt and uncle and their 4 children. At 15, I was working full-time after school, sewing men's cuffs on shirts at a local sewing factory. At 18, I left home and dove headfirst into a path of self-destruction, which included dating an older abusive man and dropping out of school. Yet somehow, I began to realize that education would be an asset for me. So I attended summer school programs to raise my GPA and eventually earned scholarships that allowed me to graduate with a degree in journalism. At age 32, I earned a master's degree in speech communications, which is actually quite ironic. I gotta tell you, these were not easy, breezy accomplishments. And there was many times when I wanted to throw in the towel. I really had to tap deep into my sense of resiliency and determination. As fortune would have it, I met and married Paul, the most beautiful and precious man I've ever known. And has contributed to my healing with his endless well of loving support. I never did bring a child into this world, yet I am wholly and completely content with my sense of family with Paul. As an adult woman, my voice still held the quiver and quiet of a tiny, helpless girl. I didn't feel safe using my big girl voice. My emotionally constricted throat couldn't produce vocal sounds to match that of a grown woman. Yet, with the same resiliency and determination, I have been finding and nurturing my voice in service of a higher purpose. I share my story of abuse openly and vulnerably with you because it is a significant piece of my journey, and making peace with it has ushered in a whole new life. This also ignited my higher purpose to make a notable difference for the abused and voiceless among us. Now, after 3 decades of counseling and a variety of alternative treatments and therapies, I stand before you tonight to tell you that familial trafficking is real, it's prevalent, and it's insidious. According to data released through the Center Trafficking Data Collective, almost half of identified cases of child trafficking begin within the family unit. On behalf of these children, I am using my hard-won and newfound voice to bring awareness to the numerous young people who suffer right here in our own backyards. Arizona is actually a prime transit and destination for both sex and labor trafficking in the United States. Arizona is actually a prime transit for both sex and labor trafficking. The Department of Justice has identified Phoenix as one of the top human traffic jurisdictions in this country. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are feeling compelled to financially support the incredible work of C.A.R.E. to stop trafficking and end suffering, or if you're moved to become a C.A.R.E. advocate or volunteer, I invite you to commit and take inspired action tonight. The time is now. On behalf of the survivors and thrivers, I give thanks to each of you for this opportunity and giving it its due consideration. I also thank you for the honor of listening to my heartfelt words and embracing the spirit of this sweet little girl who continues to blossom and bloom even at age 50. Thank you. I believe we each of us have a powerful story of healing and reclamation. And together, we shall rise and shine our collective light to heal the world. Thank you. Thank you.